Yo, welcome back. Who's ready for the revelation train to keep pulling out of the station?
Hopefully Jessica here.
I'm glad she appears to have not changed at all. What's up with you, Jessica?
I apologize for our successor Sama's lack of courtesy back there.
It's not gonna leave a mark, is it? Talk about merciless.
Did you say something, Jessica? Of course not. I've already learned my lesson, okay?
It's okay, bro. You don't want to overplay your hand, all right? All right, brah? Brah? You with me? Bro? Brotato? You're not reacting, dude, so I'm gonna keep doing this until you say something.
Sure.
All right. Leon, who had apparently been chatting with the adult siblings, spun around with a smile and stared at Jessica. Looks like the older sibling's firmly in control around here. Those are some sharp ears of yours. Ouch. How'd they get so pointy? They're like elven. I think I'm finally starting to get this Leon person.
Yeah. Our successor Sama's always been weirdly sharp. And the adults are always gushing about that kid. And I'm always getting compared to that, both at home and at school. Come to think of it, Leon was the student council president during both middle school and high school. And the head of the badminton team, too.
So everywhere you go, you get compared to Leon. And it doesn't match up too well for you, huh?
I said it as soon as I got into middle school. Our successor Sama was already the vice president of the student council. I said, if you're planning to become council president next year, that'll just put more pressure on me, so stop it. But the next year rolls around, and guess who announces their candidacy and wins by a landslide election?
So it's like Leon is everything Kinzo wanted in a successor and grandchild, right?
Maybe.
Leon seems to be like what Kinzo wanted the child that he gave to Natsuhi to be. Anyway, this is you.
Which characters?
This is still Jessica.
Same thing again in high school. I said, please, just give it a rest this time. You're already vice president.
I think you mean vice president.
Yeah, that is what I meant. Vice president.
Right? They're really similar, but distinct.
But when year 3 rolls around, our successor Sama gets the council president job again. Dad was oh so proud. Mom kept saying, now you make sure you do your best as the little sister over and over and over again.
Would you say that your dad was like over the moon?
Yeah, that's weirdly specific wording though.
No, I wouldn't worry about it. Right, Leon? Right, buddy? You know what's up, right?
Ah. But even so, you were still proud to be Leon's little sister, weren't you? It's not like I ever thought of it that way. Yeah, of course not. Why would I?
It can be tough to be compared against perfection. But other people are other people, and you are you. There's no point in letting it get you down. Live how you want with all you got, and you'll just be fine.
Of course. But Mom and the others are always going on about how I need to follow in Ushiromiya Leon's footsteps as a little sister. They keep telling me to go join the student council, to go play badminton.
You don't play in a rock band, do you?
What?
Playing Toho cover music?
What the fuck are you talking about? That hasn't been invented yet. That's a secret, okay?
But you do, right?
That's a secret, okay?
Apparently she's keeping it a secret from her family. Interesting. People tend to blame things on their family and how they were raised. But this Jessica girl always likes doing the same thing, even in a different world and a different family. It's admirable that she had such a true and constant interest in something. I loved it, by the way, that Peton Peton song. That Dokyun song. Shh. Ow. Wait, what? Why? Oh, it's one thing for Leon to do it, but you're not my bra yet. Unless, bros?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, all right. It's all right. It's all good now. Nothing wrong with the extraordinarily accomplished sort, like Leon. But kids who act their age do have their charms. That's the best way to go through life, by the way. Enjoy your youth to the fullest.
Thanks.
Apparently, no one had ever told Jessica that they approved of how she lived. and the direct way Will had put it made her turn red and hang her head in embarrassment. I want to ask you two now.
The same thing you just asked Maria-chan?
Yeah. Please tell me everything you know about Beatrice.
Well, you can see how much Maria-chan loves witches and the occult. For her, Beatrice is a symbol to be admired, like an anime heroine. Whenever some trivial thing happens, she believes it's some witch pranking her with magic.
You really are an adult. And so is the fact that you never say that to Maria, even if you think it.
Of course. Childhood dreams only happen when you're a kid. I think respecting that precious experience is an adult's responsibility.
Looks like the two of us will get along pretty well. George's position was that Beatrice was nothing more than a fairy tale. However, that phrase, respecting a child's dreams, is the adult thing to do. That might be worthy of further scrutiny. When she got candy from Beatrice by magic, Maria probably got excited and told George and the others. Then the adults followed his lead and actively supported that story as adults should. However, we can conceive of a similar situation coming up besides an adult interacting with a child. For example, what about a subordinate interacting with a superior? If Kinzo, tyrant of the Ushiromiya family, claimed that Beatrice existed and had been revived, perhaps the other members of the family would actively support that story as his subordinates should. Though Beatrice only appeared directly in front of a limited number of people, it's probably safe to say that the concept of her existence penetrated deeply within the Ushiromiya family, even among those who had never seen her. However, no matter how deeply that concept penetrated, she was only viewed as a sort of fairy tale character. It would be necessary to transform the concept of that character from an imaginary fairy tale into reality. So a person attempting to do this would need to perform acts that no one could explain without magic. These acts were the witch incidents. The witchidents, if you will.
And I will.
Thank you. Starting with the window opening pranks played by Beato the Elder, and ending with the closed room murders. Beato the Elder talked about this, saying that the anti-magic power filling the mansion would be weakened bit by bit the more that she made her existence known. Beatrice. Why were you willing to go so far to make everyone besides you accept your existence? Because that fiction will become truth if everyone acknowledges it? Because at that moment, the being called Beatrice will be acknowledged and will become human? Much like Detroit? And that... You won't get it, Leon, but it's actually pretty funny. In that case, until Beatrice is acknowledged by all people, she's less than human. She's furniture. Why? It's an interesting way of characterizing it. Until she's acknowledged by all people, being furniture. Maybe that's why canon... Maybe that's the capacity in which canon and Shannon are furniture, and that they are not acknowledged by everyone. Especially, perhaps, the people who have romantic interest in different parts of them. Why would furniture want to become human? I seem to remember this being a theme in the previous game. Because they want to gain a right. Furniture cannot love, right?
Probably.
I think that's the word it's implied to be. So they try to become human because they want the right to probably love. It's extremely simple. After all, it's directly connected to the reason Chick Beato was born in the first place. Oh, I see. I understand, but it's complicated. Yeah, you can't neglect the heart. That's George.
I feel bad for saying this at Beatrice's funeral, but truth be told, I don't know enough about this person called Beatrice to tell you much about her. My apologies. Jessica-chan does live here, so she might know a little more than I do. Speaking of which, have you introduced yourself to this gentleman yet, Jessica-chan? Nah, not yet, actually. There's this idiot going around pinching people's butts, so I didn't really have the chance.
A bit late, Jessica looked embarrassed for acting rudely in front of an unfamiliar guest. She cleared her throat and made a beautiful bow that didn't fit well with her normal attitude. She even lifted the corners of her skirt in a curtsy.
A skirtsy, if you will.
Oh, and I will. See, you're getting it, dude. You and I were gonna go places, kid.
Pleased to meet you. My name is Jessica. Allow me to welcome you to the Ushiromiya family on this splendid day. Please enjoy our hospitality and,
Willard. Just call me Will.
Huh? What?
Jessica's greeting had been of the old-fashioned sort, so Will also treated her like an old-fashioned lady. bending down on one knee, taking Jessica's right hand and kissing it.
What?
Not expecting her greeting to be returned in such an old-fashioned and formal way, Jessica turned red and was unable to speak. However, Will had returned the greeting in what he thought was a perfectly serious way, so he didn't understand what was making Jessica's face glow. Have I done something strange?
No, not at all.
I want to hear what you know about Beatrice. Ah! A sparkle leaked around the edges of Will's right hand, which was grasping Jessica's hand. Looks like the theater-going power is having its effect on Jessica. Didn't mean for that to happen. Oh well.
Beatrice, is it? Well, I can tell you, but will you promise me something? Promise you won't laugh. Thinking about it now, it sounds more than a little crazy.
Oh, well, what is it you know? I won't laugh. Tell me.
Sure. Where should I start?
How about way back in the 1980s?
To me, the Golden Witch Beatrice is sort of like one of the 7 mysteries of the Ushiromiya family. You've heard of those, right? Almost all schools have a set of tall tales or ghost stories that get passed down. Like on some days, the piano in the music room will start playing by itself, or the skeleton in the science room dances around at night. Everyone's heard of them, but of course that doesn't mean they believe in them. The stories about Beatrice were the same. It was just one of those strange tales about our way too big mansion. The servants would sometimes talk about seeing things during their night patrols. Sometimes I felt a bit annoyed about them turning my home into a place for ghost stories, but I didn't pay it any more attention than that. That's how little it mattered to me. So, during my normal everyday life, I would completely forget about the name Beatrice. Of course, when that huge portrait was first hung, it definitely felt creepy. Even I tried not to meet her eyes after dark, so it's no surprise that the servants found it eerie. But that only lasted for a short while. We all walked by the portrait every day. We gradually got used to it and eventually bored of it. I didn't really care anymore about the portrait of the mistress from Grandfather's Delusions.
I get that. Oh, but it was different for the other relatives who only came a few times a year, though.
Exactly. That's why every time the family came for a family conference, they'd always stand in front of that portrait and talk about Beatrice. So I was reminded of it every now and then.
It's time for me. Beatrice. I've come to play again. I've written a new spell. Take a look at it later, okay?
You really do like Beatrice, don't you? You've been in such high spirits ever since Grandfather had this portrait hung. Huh? Where's Angie? She went back with Aunt Kyrie to take some medicine. Her body really is frail, totally the opposite of Battler.
Would you say frail enough that she wouldn't survive falling off a skyscraper? Just hypothetic.
Who would?
Right? Right? That's what I keep saying.
She's the sort that gets sick whenever she's stressed. I also used to get sick on big holidays or trips. Maria's really tough by comparison. She's been talking about Beatrice non-stop since we left Nijima.
I also noticed that they keep explaining away Angie's absence in these scenes to make sure that we don't get tiny Angie, and I think that's criminal.
Don't you think she's taking this a bit too far? It's not so bad, right? It's normal for kids to have an active imagination. If a kid told you that she'd met Santa Claus, would you tell her she's a liar? Well, of course I wouldn't go that far.
What's that about Santa Claus?
Maria kept talking to the portrait as though it was an old friend. She promised to play with it later, as if she was talking to a living human. George, a man, seemed to think that this behavior from a younger member of the opposite sex was cute. But to be perfectly frank, Jessica, who was the same sex as Maria, found this behavior a bit unpleasant, even though she realized that she was dealing with a younger girl. At one time, even I was fascinated by anime heroines and other fictional characters. However, Maria's behavior seems to signify something more direct than mere fascination. It's something more definite, more vivid. Am I the only one who notices something odd about her? I'll bet the others all notice too, but try to ignore it because of that adult dignity George Nissan is always talking about.
Nah, my apologies, everyone. The head is quite busy with his noble research. He wishes to eat lunch in his study today.
Till a second ago, Kinzo's children had been complaining that eating lunch with their father would give them indigestion. But now that they knew he wasn't coming, they started grumbling about how he should at least spare the time to come down during the annual family conferences. Oh, hey, I'm still in this chapter. Let us begin lunch, everyone. I, Goda, have made use of all my talent and experience to make sure that you guests, who have come from so far away, will be entirely satisfied with your meal. Yeah. No one's stomach would fail to rumble after hearing that from the great Chef Goda. By the time the splendid dishes were laid out, everyone had stopped talking about Kinzo's absence. It was now Angie's absence that was being discussed. Apparently her stomachache had gotten so bad that both she and Kyrie couldn't make it to lunch.
Poor thing. Goda, make sure you talk to Kyrie-san later and have some porridge made.
Ah, thanks for the concern. Sorry about all this. It seems she just can't handle that much stress, huh?
That's how it is with young'uns. They're cute, at least when they're not regurgitating.
Right, because Angie's like 6? This is probably the year before the conference where everyone would have died.
Yeah, so she's like 5 or 6 then, right?
Yeah, she's like
Something like
she's
that?
not an infant, but probably still a toddler. Right? Is that fair?
Is that what that age range is?
I don't know. Babies are weird.
Isn't 5 or 6, isn't like 6 first grade?
Damn, you're right, actually, aren't you?
Is it?
So, I genuinely don't know.
I feel like it is, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
I feel like that's got to be close to it, but
So she's like a kindergartner or first grader or something,
kindergartner, okay.
I think.
Oh, this is... George used to do that all the time. He really was frail way back then, right?
Let's not talk about the past. It's not exactly a mealtime topic.
You woo. Poor Angie. She won't get to eat this yummy food.
Yeah, poor kid. Let's make sure we play with her a lot when she gets better.
You woo. No way. She can't play with me.
What are you talking about? Why?
You boo boo. Because I'm going to play with Beatrice, of course. So I can't play with Angie.
Play with Beatrice? You mean you're gonna go off on your own again to mumble to yourself and read some book?
Jessica slightly regretted that she hadn't been more tactful. However, she couldn't wipe away that uncomfortable feeling she got every time Maria talked about Beatrice. And that feeling slipped out through her words.
Ew, woo. I don't do it on my own. Beatrice was there too.
Maria may be young, but she does know how to read a person's tone. She immediately burst out in anger, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. Normally, Rosa would have stopped her at this point. However, she happened to have gone to the bathroom at that moment. So there was no one to calm Maria down.
Yeah. Poor Jessica, you're just a clump of the toxin. With Beatrice's weak magical power now, she'd burn to a crisp if she ever appeared in front of you. But she'll appear before you eventually, in front of everyone else too. Yeah. And then the door to the Golden Land will open. But who knows if you'll be invited in. Of course, she'll take me there to the Golden Land, but not Jessica. Not Jessica. Not someone who makes fun of Beatrice. Not an unenlightened, stupid, confused, filthy, toxic human. Yeah.
That's extremely normal.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked, actually.
Yeah.
This is Jessica.
When someone makes fun of Beatrice, it's like Maria becomes a totally different person.
There was a theory about Maria having multiple personalities, wasn't there?
Multiple personalities? Yeah, that probably describes it perfectly. Or maybe that was Maria's idea of an ideal personality.
You mean that thing about creating another self the way you want to be?
Huh? How'd you know my motto?
Don't think too hard on it. You'll just get a headache. It was something that Jessica once told Cannon. She had been talking about how anyone can create another self in the image of the person they want to be. I think we heard those words somewhere near the beginning of the second game.
That's even funnier now that we know that that's exactly what canon is.
Right? It's like one. Well, do we know which one is the preferred or if they're both?
I mean, both of them are furniture, both Canon and Shannon.
Yeah,
So
so
both of them are images of some other way to be.
fair enough. Now that I think about it, some very interesting stuff's been mentioned since very early on.
Everyone has a self they really want to become, but they can't do it. Their current self is always surrounded by their lifestyle and the limits placed on them, so they have no way of changing themselves.
Huh, true. Changing yourself means changing your environment as well. That's not easy to do.
So my idea was to leave who I am now alone.
Said Jessica, just discovering she was trans and then deciding, I'm going to deal with that like 6 years down the road. How about?
I'd create another self, one that I really wanted to be.
You felt suffocated and forced to live the life of a rich family's daughter, and you envisioned the self that you wanted to be.
But I couldn't do anything outlandish at home, of course. Mom would just start yelling at me. So I made my plan. At home, I'd obediently do what my parents said, but I'd also create a second self to do what I wanted.
At home, you did everything your parents told you to, and outside, you did what you wanted. That's a good way to live. You should be proud.
Thanks. And, well, if there's something you really want to be, and if you really work for it, it's easier to do than you'd think. I figured Mario was pretty much the same.
You think Maria's doing the same thing when she gets excited and starts talking and talking?
Sometimes I think that's the person Mario really wants to be.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Like, I never really looked too far into it because it always seemed it always seemed like reasonable to me that, like, oh yeah, this is something she cares deeply about. Of course, she's going to be a lot more articulate and animate when she's trying to defend Beato, right? Like, that just made sense. I never really put it together in the context of this is who Mario wants to be, right? That kind of framing eluded me. Was the youngest member of the family. She's adored but not respected. Wait, that's not true.
What?
Angie is younger.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is Jessica.
Every time she learns something, there's always someone in the family who already knows it. She doesn't get to show off her knowledge about anything. Whenever she does learn something new, we try to smile and praise her, but that might actually have hurt her.
So Mario wanted to become an authority on something. It's something that all young boys and girls think when they want to shake off their childhood. It's not a bad feeling when you learn something new and your parents praise you. But when you realize that your parents already knew that thing, it sometimes feels like they're talking down to you. When a kid learns that they're 1-digit times table, their parents will probably praise them. However, inconsiderate parents will sometimes ask mean questions like, then what is 11 times 11? Or what is 16 times 16? Or something similar. If that happens, the kid will lose his feeling of accomplishment and will start to feel as though he could never surpass his parents.
So it's easy to guess why Maria got interested in the occult, something no one else knew about, and started learning more and more about it. I think the person Mario wants to be is an authority on the occult who everyone respects.
And if she talked about the occult during her everyday life, Rosa would hit her, right? So like you, she's been hiding this other self most of the time.
That's what I think she's doing at times like this. Maybe I should say that this is her real self slipping through the cracks to cover up her normal self. Actually, I've had some experience with that myself. I've thought at times that it'd be nice to become a frail, secluded lady. So I'd pretend to cough a lot, and it sort of became a bad habit.
Wait, so she was faking her whole bronchitis thing? Really? I mean, I guess that didn't really factor into anything, but still, what the I remember thinking at one point it might have been an important detail that the gold that was strangling her happened to be located around her face and her, specifically her lips and mouth, right after she had used her bronchodilator. I'm like, that might mean something. And no, she's just fucking making it. Well, I mean, good for you, I guess. Because everyone would be nice to you if you started having coughing fits.
No. Whenever the conversation turned to something I didn't like or something that made me feel uncomfortable, I could do that to change the subject.
Wow, pro strats. I see. And that's another self you wanted to become, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot like being a sea cucumber, where when subjected to a threat, they puke up their own guts on their opponent in order to make an escape. It's just like that. It's a time-tested biological strategy.
Okay, so... All right.
Anyway,
Okay, let's
I'd
bring Leon
appreciate
back
it
in
if you
here.
didn't tell anyone about that.
Leon, I've got some bad news about your sister. Then just what is Maria's other self? An authority on the occult who can out-argue even adults? Or else does it have to do with her relationship with witches? Either way, denying Beatrice in front of Maria is clearly taboo. In her search for something more than her everyday life, Maria found it in Beatrice and inside herself. In that case, is going to the Golden Land with Beatrice Maria's wish?
Looks like we've gone off track. Anyway, Maria kept up that tantrum until Aunt Rosa got back. I should have let her be, but I fought back.
So there was no way Beatrice could exist?
Something like that. If she exists, then just let me see her. Of course, once Maria started crying, I realized I'd gone too far.
And then?
At the end of the family conference, I was the only one still upset. Maria acted as though nothing had happened. Instead, she went off somewhere on her own and came back talking happily about how she'd play with Beatrice again. Everyone, me included, decided not to contradict her. By that time, it was best to just accept it and ignore it.
Is that all you have to say about the family conference?
About the conference, yes. What I want to talk about is what happened after the conference was over and everyone left. Even after the conference ended, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. If Maria had just stayed mad, we would have made up with each other and I could have put it all behind me. But since Maria got over it, it felt like I was the only one unsatisfied.
Oh, milady, why the gloomy face? Oh.
Oh, it's you. It's nothing important. Did everyone make it back okay?
It's you, she says. She doesn't address her... Yeah.
If they're still on schedule, they should have reached the Ninjima airport by now. Oh, you've done your part well, milady.
I haven't done anything. It's you servants who've done a great job.
Are you still upset by that fight you had with Maria-sama yesterday?
Sorta.
She's just a kid, right? It's not something you need to worry about. All grown up and in high school.
Do you think all that was just a kid's nonsense?
You mean about Beatrice-sama?
See, even you call her Sama. Beatrice is the name of grandfather's mistress, the person he's still infatuated with. I realized that as a servant, Kumasawa-san can't speak of her indiscreetly. Still, that's now become the name of the fictitious witch who lives in this mansion. And it's almost natural for people to call her Sama. Beatrice is just a ghost story created by the adults to stop us from wandering into the forest. Maria just thought it was interesting one day and decided to act like it was true.
If you say such things, you'll end up regretting it. After all, Beatrice-sama exists.
Again, when you say stuff like that, you're just freaking me out. I may not be George Nissan, but I'm not going to go around shouting that Santa couldn't possibly exist, but that doesn't mean he actually exists.
You'll find you're wrong there, milady.
Wrong?
Oh, yes. The gods dwell in all things. In the same way Beatrice-sama dwells in this mansion. Like the gods, Beatrice-sama will do you no harm if you respect her. As you say, it will be as though she does not exist. However, if you fail to show proper respect, her curse will descend upon you. Of course, this doesn't apply only to Beatrice-sama.
Huh. If there's a curse, let's see it. I'd just love to meet her.
Milady, you mustn't say such things.
Ah, milady.
Oh, you did a fine job today.
Shannon, Goda-san, you guys know about Beatrice, right? Huh?
Well, I do know of her, of course. Well, why do you ask? The two looked at each other. Oh, this is you still narrating. I'm
The
sorry.
two looked at each other. They looked like a pair who had just heard a clueless person suddenly utter a forbidden word. Let's have it straight. Does she exist? That ghost?
Oh, if it's a question of whether she exists or not, I would have to say she doesn't, probably.
I'm sure she exists. Why? Have you ever met her? I've never met her directly, but...
Shannon spoke in detail of how she'd sometimes feel a strange presence or see a silhouette while doing the midnight rounds. And each time she started, Jessica would immediately cut her off, saying she must have seen it wrong or been mistaken.
You haven't met her either, right, Goda-san?
No, of course not. However, well, He was being very evasive. Oh, I'm sorry.
He was being very evasive. Even a man as big as Goda was apparently unable to deny the existence of someone he'd never met. This really didn't sit well with me, Jessica.
I guess we're just the way it just seemingly changes like from first person to third person narration with no indication. It's good shit.
Yeah.
She was a resident of this mansion herself. They were acting as though someone else, someone she didn't know, was living there. Of course she didn't like it.
Wait a sec. Tell me that story one more time.
Oh? Well, what do you mean?
The story about the VIP room?
Goda and Shannon had been recounting several ghost stories about Beatrice. One of those drew a reaction from Jessica.
Yeah, that one. Sounds pretty cool.
Goda and Shannon glanced at each other. After all, it hadn't been a cool story to either of them. You mean that you mustn't enter the VIP room at 2 in the morning?
The one about how Beatrice-sama returns to the VIP room every morning at 2 a.m., so you mustn't go near it?
I think that's interesting to Jessica because that one's got a testable theory in it, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Pretty cool. All the other stories are about people saying they heard or saw something Beatrice-like, but this one isn't. This one says that if you go to the VIP room at 2, you can actually meet Beatrice-sama.
True ghost story enthusiast, Ushiromiya Jessica.
Well, I wonder.
Milady, they say that servants who speak ill of Beatrice-sama are cursed. Furthermore, the VIP room is... I think this might be Shannon still, but whatever. The VIP room is Beatrice-sama's room.
Even you, milady, should probably reconsider. The VIP room is locked now, right? Where's the key?
Oh, was that key in the key box?
I think Genji-sama keeps that key by his own chair.
So that's not...
The
Fair
master key can unlock it too, right? Let me borrow yours. But I cannot do that.
Oh, milady, there's no need to approach such an ill-omened place without reason.
Hey, don't you go calling my house ill-omened. Anyway, I've made up my mind.
I like how it's taking the position here that Jessica probably feels differently about this because she has to live in the fucking house. Kind of like how Angie's like, this is my fucking family you're killing over and over. It's like, I don't, it might be a cool setting for you, but I have to live with this.
If you can't give me your master key, there's still that key for the VIP room, right? Let me borrow it. Milady.
To Jessica, the expressions worn by the pair felt more like an ill omen than anything else did. In Jessica's eyes, the ill-omened thing wasn't the witch or the VIP room. It was them, Maria and the others who believed in witches. In the end, Jessica forced them to agree, and she made them bring her the key to the VIP room. She went on a classic test of courage to see if Beatrice would really appear in the VIP room or not.
Pretty much. Still, I wonder why I was so fixated on doing it. I must still have been brooding over that fight I had with little Maria.
Back to Jessica here.
Of course, the weather just had to be terrible on that particular night. To be honest, I slightly regretted sticking my nose into something so pointless. But I'd already said so much and even borrowed the key from them. I couldn't just go to Shannon the next day, have her ask me how it went, and answer, well, I gave up because it was too scary, hee hee hee. Normally I go to sleep long before 2 a.m. If Mom found me wandering the corridors at that time of night, she'd definitely yell at me. So I waited in my room, staring at the hands of my clock as it ticked closer to 2 a.m. Outside, the rain was incredible and the wind strong. The swaying, rustling trees were particularly eerie. I'd complained to Shannon and Goda about making up ghost stories about my house, but I was starting to feel like those ghost stories might not be so impossible after all. The Ushiromiya mansion is huge. Honestly, I can't think of the entire mansion as my own house. As Mom says, the hallways of the Ushiromiya mansion should be treated like public roads. Paved regularly, salted in winter for safe vehicle passage.
I mean, why not? It's got to be the fastest way to get from one end to the other, right?
In other words, my own room is part of my home, but the hallways and the rooms I don't usually enter are outside. So while part of me felt that this VIP room ghost story was ridiculous, another part of me was so creeped out that it kept frantically trying to convince itself that the first part of me was right. Only 10 minutes left till 2. If I want to be inside the VIP room at 2, I need to get there before then. Guess it's time. Sorry, but I'm not giving up that easy. Nothing's gonna happen, I know that. It'll just be a stupid waste of time for a few minutes. I touched the doorknob to the door of my room and was startled by how unpleasantly cold it was. As long as I stayed in this room, I could laugh off anything. After all, this was my room. But it wouldn't be like that in the hallway. That's outside my territory. And the doorknob, the barrier between the two, is ice cold. Idiot, what are you so scared of me? You aren't taking Shannon's, Goda-san's, or maybe Kumasawa-san's gossip seriously, are you? I'll prove it. There's nothing strange in the VIP room. The corridor was only dimly lit. Before lights out time, the hallways were brighter. But to avoid wasting energy or something like that, we kept the lights to a minimum at night. So even though I was inside my own house, it was very clearly the middle of the night here. If Mom found out I was wandering around at a time like this to do a test of courage in the VIP room, which I'm not even supposed to go in, I'd get in a lot of trouble. To make sure she didn't find out, I tried to hide my breathing and my footsteps, so the silence felt unbelievably loud. Even though it was so quiet, that eerie sound of the wind was noisy. The sound of twigs rustling, the sound of some pillar in this old mansion creaking. What's that sound like a beak tapping against glass? Though it was so quiet, all of the little suspicious sounds made it seem noisy. Damn, I'm an idiot. Why couldn't I have brought a flashlight at least? A flashlight to use inside my own home? That's even more idiotic. I mumbled this to myself, hoping it would drown out the sound of the wind just a little. Then, I saw it. The door to the VIP room. This was the VIP room, the room for important guests. However, as far as I knew, it had never been used before. None of the guests who came to this mansion were important enough to be given use of this room. Though I'd been clutching that key the whole time, it didn't feel warm at all. It still ruthlessly and icily tormented me. Or maybe that was a warning. If you go back to your comfortable room and hide in your bed, this night will pass like any other. Don't mess with me. I can't give up after coming this far. Even though the key was freezing in my hand, telling me to go back, it slipped into the keyhole quite easily. All that's left is to turn the knob, open it, and I'll be inside the VIP room. It's not like I've never been in there before. Long ago, I explored and played hide and seek all the time, and this room that I rarely entered seemed unusual and exciting. However, I got in trouble for going in and was told that this room was important, so one mustn't enter without reason. After that, they made a rule of locking up unused rooms, and I couldn't go in anymore.
Okay.
So it's probably been several years since I've gone into the VIP room.
So unused rooms are routinely kept locked.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it might be more than 10 years since the last time. The inside of the room has probably changed from how I remember it. Come to think of it, even then I felt that there was something unsettling about it. Slowly, I pushed the door open. The door was light, and even after I let go of it, it kept opening by itself as though beckoning me in. Beyond it was a darkness as thick and heavy as ink. Even the dim light that peeked in from the corridor seemed bright in contrast. I stuck my head in, feeling about for the light switch next to the doorway. This was a horribly awkward and uncomfortable way to do it. All I really had to do is step inside and search for the switch from there. Unwilling to take even a single step into the room, I timidly stuck just my arm into the darkness and felt along the wall. There. Click. The switch, which was hardly ever used, felt stiff and lifeless. However, once the light turned on, the darkness vanished in an instant. And there, exactly as it has been, as though not a thing had changed in all these years, was the VIP room. The curtain and bed cover might have been slightly different, and maybe the chairs and the like had changed too. Still, if I had to put it in words, I'd call it the feel. The stiff, lifeless feel of this room hadn't changed. If I hang around here, someone might find me. I'd rather not have my mom find me here. I readied myself, and though I couldn't even bring myself to enter this room when the lights were out, I finally entered. As soon as I closed the door, I felt an oppressive, suffocating sensation. All right, I've shut myself up in the VIP room. Bring it, Beatrice. What time is it now? I looked around the room, but I couldn't see any clock. I'm not in the habit of wearing a watch around the house. Damn. Now I'm not sure what time it is. Still, I know there's only a few minutes left at most. I tried to suppress my desire to use going to get a clock as an excuse to run away from this place. Even so, just standing around like this was boring. When I looked around again, searching for something to sit on, I found something strange. What's this?
Well, that's disconcerting.
It had been placed on the side table next to the bed. If this room had been used often, I'd have thought it was just one of the owner's personal belongings. But no one lived in this room, so this can't belong to the room's owner. What is this, an offering or something? Creepy. It really did look like an offering. A small French doll was sitting on the side table. The doll's hair was gold. It was wearing a black dress. Just who managed to find this doll and where? There's no doubt that someone placed the doll here to symbolize Beatrice. Does that mean this doll is supposed to be the owner of this room or something? And looking like an offering to that owner, there sat a small plate with several cookies and wrapped chocolates. It was all set out neatly, and there was no dust piled up on the doll. In other words, both the doll and the offering were taken care of on a regular basis by the servants, kept in good condition along with the rest of the room.
What?
Taken care of? No, it's more than that.
What?
It looked like an offering. No, like some sort of worship. A prayer saying, "Please don't curse us." So even though the doll was more than eerie enough by itself, viscerally, it was even more unnerving to imagine it being kept safe and worshipped in a place like this.
Yeah, that's... Wow.
Stupid. Am I supposed to clap my hands together and say, "Please don't curse me"?
Jessica forced herself to look away from the bizarre doll. She couldn't bring herself to sit on a bed that wasn't hers. And then again, she didn't really feel like sitting down on a chair either. She had lost any desire to sit on anything in this room.
I wandered about aimlessly, then peeked out the window through the gaps in the curtains to stare at the dark, rainy night. What the hell am I doing? Hanging about in the VIP room this late just because that fight with Maria is still eating at me? This is totally pointless. Beatrice, just when did that strange witch start living in this mansion? Grandfather's always yelling about Beatrice. Since it's apparently the name of his dead mistress, people started talking about how her ghost must haunt this mansion. There's that kid's horror story about the witch in the forest, which might be a ghost story made by the adults to stop the kids from going in there. The portrait grandfather had hung in April was really striking.
April, okay. April the year before. Okay.
And there was also that weird epitaph. The creepy words on that, which sounded like some sort of ceremony with human sacrifices, made the name of Beatrice seem all the more unnerving.
Weird how Jessica has this memory, and yet she also seems to know Leon. What reason would there be to hang the portrait and epitaph in a timeline where Kinzo is still alive and a successor is well chosen?
Yeah. Also, given that that timeline makes it seem like if we're right, that this family conference is the year before the 1986 one, and the
Yep.
portrait was hung in April of that year, then it would have been hung after Kinzo was dead.
Right, so this can't be...
So it's if she's got that memory.
This has to be from one of the ones without Leon in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Assuming our summation of who Leon is correct.
Yeah. At some point, those stories mix together, and now people say that the witch Beatrice exists. I don't believe in Beatrice, because I know she's just a fictional person made by the fusion of a few horror stories. The Beatrice who was grandfather's mistress probably did exist, but she wasn't a witch. The story of the Witch of the Forest was made up by the adults to prevent their kids from getting lost in the woods. But that was just a made-up story, not reality. In fact, I've heard that the adults here once scared the kids with stories about wolves living in the forest. Apparently, the kids realized that wolves couldn't possibly be there, so it was changed to the witch. When the portrait was hung, that once vague character suddenly had a face, and people acted as though she'd been around since long ago. That's right, it's all a ghost story someone made, a fiction. And Maria calls Beatrice her best friend, and the servants worship her like a household shrine. I just don't get it, and it creeps me out. The sudden ring of the phone made me jump so hard I thought my heart would explode. There was a phone on the bedside table across from the one with the doll, and it was ringing noisily. However, I was only surprised by the first ring. By the time it had rung 3 times, I'd regained my cool enough to grumble about this being a prank done by someone trying to scare me. If I rush to pick it up, I'll probably hear someone laughing at me, saying, "Were you scared?" I thought about ignoring it instead, but it kept on ringing incessantly. It was a pretty loud sound to have going on and on this late at night. If Mom somehow manages to hear it from her room, I'm screwed. Okay, I've got it. Might as well say, "You scared me," or whatever. I decided to pick up the receiver.
And it'll make you a believer?
Yeah. I'll just say, "That surprised me, wahahaha," and maybe follow that up with, "Looks like Beatrice didn't show up after all." After all, this is my victory in a sense. Hello?
Oh, no.
Ew, whoop. Hi, Beatrice.
Huh? Maria? I don't get it. Did I hear that wrong? Why would Maria be calling here? Hello?
Thanks for teaching me that fun song last time. In return, I'm gonna sing you a song, Beatrice. I just learned this one, okay? Ew-woo.
The voice, the intonation, the manner of speech, all of it clearly belonged to Maria. But what's she talking about all by herself? Maria just kept on talking happily as I stood there, stunned and unable to interrupt. Eventually, Maria started singing an old, familiar kids' song that even I knew. I don't get it. Maria, hello? Wait a sec, stop singing. What's going on? I don't get it. Hello? Ah! The voice and the lights, everything disappeared. In the pitch black, I couldn't see anything, couldn't tell what was happening. I don't get it. What's going on?
I like that despite not knowing what's going on, Jessica still keeps like a very objective view of like, this is what happens, then this sensation,
Yep.
rather than trying to hypothesize about it.
What the hell was that? Does being in darkness really slow us humans down so much? I know it's dark, but I really have absolutely no idea what just happened. What was that shuffling sound just now? I'm not sure. I can't explain it. I heard an incredible slithering sound, like someone crawling out of a bed. I didn't think I'd heard it. It wasn't that vague. I definitely heard it happen right next to me, clearly. However, there was no change to the bed. No one had been sleeping there in the first place, and the sheets were still perfectly straight. Someone had crawled out of the bed and had laughed in a creepy voice before leaving the room. That's what it felt like. Felt like. I'm here and the bed's right there. I'm not only in the same room, I'm right next to it. So why am I so unsure about what happened just a few seconds ago?
Because you got purposely disoriented right beforehand?
I gripped the receiver, which had gone completely silent, and waited there alone, unable to move, in a quiet room that seemed exactly identical to the one I'd entered. Huh? What? If nothing's changed since the beginning, I can just pretend that the last minute or so didn't happen. And yet, if something has changed, that would prove that something really did happen. The hell? Where'd it go? Did it fall to the floor? No, it's not there. No matter where I look, from whatever angle, it's not there. The offering plate with the cookies and chocolate is still here, but the thing they were being offered to, the doll, is gone. No way. Then what just happened? Is the Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have cackled out loud and left the room? No, that crawling sound was too loud to have been made by a doll. It was a noisy sort of sound, like a kid playing with a blanket and using it as a cape. Then what? Is that Beatrice-sama doll supposed to have turned into a human and then run cackling from the room?
Or if someone came out from under the bed.
Yeah.
I think that's the most reasonable.
No way. After that, nothing happened. The doll alone disappeared and nothing else changed. In a VIP room that had remained completely unchanged and was filled only with the sound of wind and rain, I stood there too shocked to move. Then I filed that straight in the memory hole and tried to never think of it again.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. Did you ever find that doll, though?
I looked everywhere, even under the bed, but I didn't find it.
So what do you think had happened in that room?
I don't think it was actually Beatrice-sama's curse. It might have been a prank done by the servants.
Prank?
Yeah, maybe they recorded Maria's voice beforehand. They then called at exactly 2 a.m. and pushed the play button. They could have cut the power at the switchboard or something. Then someone who'd been hiding in the VIP room would make a creepy laugh, take the doll, and leave.
They might not even have to fake Maria calling, because she's alone on a lot of nights, right?
Yeah. Maybe she really does call the VIP room at 2 a.m. from time to time.
Right. Like that, I don't even have to believe that that's a recording.
Yeah.
Right?
If that's how it happened, everything fits.
Doesn't sound like you're really convinced, though.
No kidding. After all, if that was just a prank to scare me, the scale was way too large. They made Maria sing beforehand and recorded it. Then someone called the VIP room and replayed that recording. Then someone waited until exactly the right time and tripped the breaker for the VIP room. To turn off the power to the VIP room, you'd have to go to the basement. There's a switchboard booth down in the boiler room. There's a switchboard booth down in the boiler room.
There's a switchboard booth down in the boiler room.
I don't know if that matters, but that's interesting.
It's good to know where the switchboard is.
There's no phone line down there, so you'd need a different person to play back Maria's tape. And you'd need another person to hide in the VIP room and cackle before leaving. And just how long would this last person have to hide in the VIP room beforehand? How long would they have to hide in the pitch black VIP room, under the bed, for example, waiting to scare me, Jessica, who might or might not even come? There's no way it could be a witch's curse, but still, to me it's even creepier to imagine that many people planning everything down to the slightest detail, and waiting for several hours in the darkness just to scare me.
Fair enough. Fair point. I agree. A curse would be better, right? Just the servants about that later on.
What's the point? They'd just play dumb, of course. And there had to have been at least 3 of them. On that day, Genji-san, Goda-san, Kumasawa-san, and Shannon stayed the night. So 3 of those 4 helped out with that creepy prank? It doesn't make sense. That's why I couldn't ask about it.
True, it had been a strange experience for her, but it wasn't something completely impossible for humans to do. Even so, it really must have been more unnerving to imagine a large number of people planning so carefully just to scare Jessica. So I'm surprised that Jessica found this scarier than Beatrice's curse.
Yeah, it is super fucked up.
Yeah, right. I agree. I feel like we never take the time to really stop and think about like, oh yeah, we can totally come up with ways humans could do all these, but it's also super fucked up that they'd act that way.
In this case, specifically, that I'd been kind of riding on the theory that, oh, this is a Shannon canon thing.
Yeah.
And it's just been one person largely doing and planning all of this stuff.
Right.
And this is making it seem very much like, no, there's a group of people clandestinely doing witch shit. And like...
Well, I mean, we know that Kumasawa and Genji have at least some stake in this.
Did we?
We know that they helped out with the original Beatrice, the one that lived at... Or the daughter of Beatrice that lived at Kuodorian.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably have a vested interest in trying to pass off Beatrice as something else now, so to prevent other people from looking more into it.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that.
Either way, they're definitely part of the they're definitely the two servants that will unquestioningly back up. Like, yeah, she is. Beatrice exists. Whereas Goda is always the outsider, the one who's like, I'm not really sure what's going on here.
That's true. I just feel like before now I didn't think we had considered that meant they were actually in on planning the killings and all of this. It seemed just like, yes, we go along unquestioningly with the Beatrice thing.
Yeah, but this still seems like part of the Beatrice thing.
Yeah, but it seems like more the thing that's getting me is the fact that it is an organized plot to conceal things and fake someone's existence and so on, which wasn't something that I feel that we had thought that they were doing previously.
Well, I mean, they were already part of a thing to conceal someone's existence. We know that they're capable
but I
of
mean
that.
Specifically
Got it.
Beatrice
Okay, I
here.
see. That they are active participants and not just yes mamming.
Yeah.
I see. You're right. It might be an unusual thing that they were involved, a special thing that Shannon I need help, but who knows? Anyway, do you still believe the servants tricked you?
No, I was probably scared and mistook what I saw and heard. The doll probably just fell somewhere and I just had trouble finding it.
You trying to say you imagined the whole thing?
Other than that doll disappearing, there was no other proof that anything had changed. Later on, I talked to Maria, and she said she didn't know anything about that song or the phone call. I don't know if she was lying or not, of course. Anyway, what happened that night is just something I thought happened, and there's no proof of any kind.
That's ironic. Even if you claimed to have met Beatrice directly, you would have been just as unable to prove it.
The shock lasted for a while, but as time passed, I began to think that lightning or something must have shut off the power for a second. And maybe one of the trees in the garden fell, which I mistook for that slithering sound.
And the laugh?
Maybe some strange bird. Anyway, I might have misheard something to get that sound. I act tough, but you wouldn't believe how much of a coward I actually am. That's why I let my imagination get a hold of me. I tried to use that as an excuse to help me forget everything that happened that night.
She says she let her imagination get a hold of her, but she did a very good job just reporting what was happening without trying to speculate or elaborate on it. Like, she's remarkably good at reporting what is happening around her. And everything is enshrouded in darkness.
People are actually pretty good at forgetting things if they try. After that night, I'd feel uncomfortable every time I heard the word Beatrice. But I tried hard to not let it show on my face. That's all. I can't tell you any more than that. It's kind of embarrassing, so please don't tell anyone. I don't want them knowing I'm a chicken.
Sure thing. I have one last question, though.
About the VIP room?
No, about the dining hall.
The dining hall?
On the day of the family conference, just before your ghost story, all the relatives were gathered in the dining hall, right?
Yeah, except Battler hadn't come back to the family yet. Everyone else was there. Everyone except grandfather, of course.
And Angie wasn't in the room because of her stomach ache. Her seat was next to yours, right?
Yep.
See, it is vitally important that Angie has her seat at the table. Was that the seat to your right?
Yeah, the seat to my right.
Hold on. I had I don't have my notebook. I don't have my notebook in arm's reach. Okay, hold on. Let's. So the seat to her right, and we know this is a timeline without Leon in it. So from the top, it would be Jessica, George, Angie? Because the kids are at the top, right?
I do not remember at all how the seating works.
Well, either way, either the parents go. So the parents would be first. Either the parents are first. No, the parents are first, right? So it's Kraus. It's Kraus, Rudolph. Oh, Kraus, Ava, Rudolph, Rosa. Next are the kids that are a success, which would be Jessica, George, and then Angie, apparently? Because Battler was no longer in the family, right. So Angie, and then Mario. Okay. Why does the seating position matter so much?
I don't know.
We've
Perhaps
had it
we're about to
explained-
find out.
Yeah. I don't know. Will doesn't seem very... Some of the things we're being told in this chapter assume that you've worked out why they're important. And I got to admit, we never had a reason to figure out, we never figured out why the seating order was important or to what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I had some early speculation that it was weird that they kept leaving Angie out of it, but I guess if they are willing to shuffle around positions when people aren't there, then I guess that doesn't matter as much. But clearly it's important enough that Will wants to ask about it and know specifically, so...
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll tell us, but it also might just be the answer to a riddle we didn't even know we missed.
Yeah, the seat to my right. Why does it matter? Huh? Wait. That's strange. Why to the...
Because that means Leon isn't in that timeline. That's why it's important.
There we go.
That's why it was... Just to make sure that we knew. Because if it was on the left, Leon would have been in front of her, and then Jessica would have been placed across the table, and the next person down would have been on her left.
Okay.
That's enough. Try not to think. You'll just get a headache out of it. So it's just confirming something we already guessed. We already kind of extrapolated from that based on the presence of the portrait and stuff like that.
Okay. What's up, Jessica? Why the confused look? Well, right, left, huh? You're so weird. How's it going, Will?
Hey, Leon, your head's tiny compared to your sister's. You know that? You got a tiny head, bro.
Huh, that's strange.
I wouldn't worry about it, though. Fist bump?
Have George, Nissan, and Jessica told you anything useful?
A bit, yeah. Ghost story about Beatrice was pretty fun.
A ghost story? What kind of story?
What about Beatrice's ghost appearing in the VIP room at 2 in the morning? It was pretty creepy.
I've never heard of that.
Because you wouldn't have, right? You wouldn't have. That wouldn't have come about in the timeline where Leon exists.
I don't know who put that out there, but that'd be really rude. Making up ghost stories about the woman our head is indebted to?
No model answer.
What?
Do you know about the epitaph, Leon?
Epitaph?
Leon doesn't... I mean, this is what we guessed, but it's good to get confirmation on this.
What epitaph? So this rules out my theory that this is Beatrice's funeral because Leon solved the epitaph in some way.
Right. No, Leon wouldn't need to solve the epitaph. Leon would have just been given the headship by Kinzo.
Yeah.
Because Kinzo's like, here, raise this child for me.
Yep.
Clearly he's got a reason for it. Yeah. He wouldn't have even need to go anywhere near it. That epitaph by Beatrice's portrait.
My apologies, but I have no idea what you mean.
Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown.
What on earth are you talking about?
So in your world, no. No, in this world. The portrait exists, but not the epitaph, huh?
Of course I know about the large portrait of Beatrice hanging in the entrance hall.
So that portrait exists no matter what. So either it's independent development, and Kinzo is just in his old age, is like, yeah, let's slap a portrait of that lady up there. Or it was something he was planning to do legitimately before he died, and it was just used as a base for the rest of the stuff.
But I haven't heard of this epitaph. What is it?
That's a very interesting difference. You lived on Rokkenjima all your life, right?
Of course. What's your point?
When you were a little kid, you were told not to go near the woods, threatened about it.
Yes, they always said to stay away since it would be dangerous if we got lost.
'Cause a witch lives in the forest?
A witch? What witch?
The Golden Witch, the ruler of Rokkenjima's night. Beatrice.
Beatrice is a woman to whom grandfather owes a great debt.
So Beatrice was never mythologized in this way in Leon's timeline, because there was no reason to.
Yeah?
The whole mythologizing of Beatrice came about as a result of, because her existence was taken out of Kinzo's hands.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think it's a bit rude to treat her like a witch or a ghost?
You don't know about the witch Beatrice.
I know about the Beatrice who came here in a submarine along with the gold, and about her daughter who was raised in the hidden mansion.
Okay. Sorry, there was nothing. I was just like, that was like, okay, like I am engaged in reading.
We just learned about those two together a short while ago, right? Where does the witch come in?
I see, so that's it. Then how did they scare you to keep you from going in the woods?
They said that wolves lived in the forest.
Wolves, but not a witch. I see. That's interesting.
Not to me. What are you talking about? What is this witch?
Don't worry about it, Broseph. I'm just talking to myself. I have one more question for you, though.
Please, go ahead.
During the family conference, who sits to your right at the dining table?
My little sister, Jessica, sits across from me.
So
The-
it would
the
be, yep,
The next in rank is Aunt Ava's son.
George.
So George Nissan is the one on my right. What's your point?
I get it. It's all mashed together in a confusing mess, but it is interesting.
Well, I'm still in the dark here.
I think, so I think that's just explaining to it, like, if we haven't quite caught on to what the nature of Leon is yet, this is kind of like helping us get there.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think that's related to anything else, but it's good to kind of like, I think we cottoned onto it pretty early.
Yep.
So unless there's another subtlety to it that we don't know like at all, then I'm pretty sure we were just like a few steps ahead there. Like it wasn't super hard to deduce, but it's good to get the confirmation as well, right? Oh no, it's a rainy day on Rokkenjima. Who could have ever seen that coming?
One of these days, like in Chapter 8, there's just going to not be rain sounds and rain stuff, and we won't notice it at first, but it'll be really eerie.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
So, did you figure out who killed Beatrice?
Yeah, more or less.
You don't mean the head, do you?
Berncastle isn't asking about who the two Beatrices involved with Kinzo. The Beatrices, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Involved with Kinzo. She's talking about who killed the Beatrice of 1986.
I'm not really sure what you mean by the Beatrice of this year. What's all this about a witch called Beatrice? And then there's what we were just talking about, and that epitaph, too. Isn't it about time you explained all this to me?
Yeah, because none of that is around in a timeline where Leon exists. Well, all right. No point in stringing you along, huh? Let's start from the beginning. Wait, is this going to be... All right, well, let's see where this goes. Who is this witch Beatrice?
Wait, that probably was my line.
Oh, yeah, okay, you start then.
Let's start from the beginning. Who is this witch Beatrice?
Well, strictly speaking, it isn't a person. It's the concept known as Beatrice the Golden Witch. And that's about what we've come down. Like, that's matches what we've got so far.
You mean the ghost stories themselves?
To be more specific, even the ghost stories are only one of the elements that create the concept.
You've lost me.
It's alright, bruh. Ghost stories are normally told in the second person or third person, right? However, someone started telling those in the first person. They're called true ghost stories. Got a great Yuri series I can recommend to you, bruh.
You mean someone started claiming that they were Beatrice?
The legend of Rokkenjima's evil spirits and the made-up story for keeping kids out of the forest. These were combined with Kinzo's constant cries of Beatrice, Beatrice, and gradually became the legend of the witch. Ushiromi Amaria became entranced by that fictional witch and begged for a chance to meet her. And then someone answered her call.
This is a good track.
This is really good. I like this.
I'm still not following, but I'll just nod and tell you to keep going. Nod and smile, nod and smile.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What do you mean by answered her call?
Because of Ushiromi Amaria's unfortunate childhood history, She became obsessed with the occult, right? Someone felt sympathy for her, acted the part of Beatrice, and played with her. Maria tends to recognize people by their behavior rather than their physical appearance. Though Rosa is only one person, Maria calls the mother the Black Witch when she gets violent. And at these times, Maria views Rosa as a different person, separate from her mother. In other words, even when a person visually looks the same, she tends to view them as multiple different people depending on their attitude. You know what? I couldn't have, I don't think I would have been able to articulate that, but yeah, that definitely matches with what we... because of the bits where we're like, Mama, come back, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's able to recognize that this is her mother, but that they're being... that they are currently being, portraying some other persona, right? Yeah.
Persona.
This fact puts the scene where Maria first met Beatrice in a new light, right? Because it's got to be someone. After being chased out by the mansion... Oh, this is just narration. After being chased out of the mansion by the adults, Maria decided to have some tea in the rose garden. At that time, someone probably started talking to Maria. Then, when they heard this occult-loving girl talking happily about how she wanted to meet with the witch Beatrice, this person acted as though Beatrice was possessing them. On the outside, they didn't look like Beatrice. However, so that I didn't count on. That I don't think either of us counted on. I thought we both assumed that someone had to be donning the dress. But I guess if you're able to make the connection that to Maria, they don't really have to be there, it's the way they act, then why would they need to put on the dress, right?
Yeah.
However, when their manner of speech and behavior changed abruptly, Maria would recognize them as a different person.
Oh, this totally explains how Kumasawa could be the former Beatrice. She's the former Beatrice for this Beatrice. She's the one who comes across Maria and wants to cheer up the poor kid, and she knows Beatrice stories and stuff and starts acting it. But somebody else is the Beatrice who's doing the killings and stuff.
Interesting.
It's later passed along to Shannon.
I see.
Maybe.
That's why her appearance was so sudden. We could probably view Maria's love of witches and the occult as a form of escapism. She believed the power of witches could bring about change in her unfulfilling and incomplete life. That's why she wanted to believe that witches exist, right? She thought that believing could make her happy.
It's true that Aunt Rosa brought up Maria by herself, and that she was always busy with work. I do feel sorry for Maria, but still.
Don't neglect the heart, right? Maria believed for the sake of believing. She believed in Beatrice's conjuring trick from the bottom of her heart. That probably comforted her a lot. In that moment, the witch Beatrice was born.
Someone saw that Maria-chan wanted to meet a witch, so they decided to play witches with her?
Yeah, that's right. This marks the birth of Beato the Elder. All of that about living 1,000 years and being bound to Rokkenjima, that was mixed into the story of ghosts wandering the mansion at night, which was part of the legend of Rokkenjima's evil spirits. As Furuto Erika guessed, the two ghost stories had been fused. Someone fused the two stories together and acted the part, so Beatrice had traits from both ghost stories. She was the master of the mansion's night while also fearing spiderwebs.
So, when Berncastle asks us who killed Beatrice, she means who killed the kind person who acted the part of Beatrice?
That's close, but not quite. She doesn't mean someone acting a part. We're talking about two different people. Just like how in Maria's eyes, her mother and the Black Witch are different, separate people. Beatrice and the person who played that part are also different people. It was just like Maria's sorcière. One person would be the creator, and the other would acknowledge those creations, thereby nurturing the illusion. The Golden Witch Beatrice was also created by one person and then nurtured when Maria acknowledged her. So killing... Oh, this is the...
So, killing the role that was being acted out wouldn't mean the same thing as killing the kind person who was playing the part?
And this is what I think what we're starting to grapple with, with how we deal with Sayo and Canon, one of them dying while the other lives. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if Beatrice's vessel is lost, that isn't the same as Beatrice being killed. It's easier to understand if we use a telephone as an example. Let's say I call you on the phone, right? From my perspective during the call, the phone is you, in the sense it's what I talk to, right? But what if I break the phone?
I see. If you kill the phone, you won't be able to talk to me, but that doesn't mean you've killed me.
We know Maria once offered to let Beatrice possess her early on in their relationship. Is that what we missed?
That was last episode.
Offered to let Beatrice possess her. That should have been a tip-off. That should have been a tip-off. Clear shows that Beatrice didn't look like the portrait at the time. Yep, that's... You're right. That we should have latched onto that. That is... I think even until the end, both of us had this notion that whoever was playing Beatrice for Maria's sake still had to look the part, right? And no, I think we missed that.
So if the person acting the part and the witch character they play are different people, we're talking about killing just the witch character itself. Is that even possible?
Only actor can kill the character, right? In other words, the person who killed Beatrice is the person who played the part of Beatrice.
You mean that the person who played witches with Maria-chan is the culprit Bernkastel's talking about?
That's it. But as if that wasn't confusing enough, this chapel is now a world inside a cat box. The culprit is the cat. There are now 2 cats existing at the same time, one alive and one dead.
Confusing is right.
Nope.
I'm still lost, but keep going. You're saying that there are 2 culprits?
Right. The human who can create and kill Beatrice, and the human who never gave birth to Beatrice in the first place, who can kill the entire concept of Beatrice. Both of those humans are here.
Then let me ask, in this Beatrice murder case, who are the 2 culprits?
Start with the dead cat.
Shannon? Who is it? Oh no, the dead cat. Sorry, I had it swapped.
Yep.
Who is it?
You.
What?
It's painfully easy to guess, right? Your world is the only one where the witch Beatrice doesn't exist.
I don't understand.
Both Maria and Jessica told me stories about the witch Beatrice. However, when they talked about the ranking system at the dining table, you weren't there. Which is... Yeah, this is what we had cottoned onto.
I wasn't there?
Maria came to visit Rokkenjima with Rosa, and Rosa was sitting next to her. That's impossible. If you exist, then Leon comes after Rosa, then Jessica, then Maria. There should be 2 people between Rosa and Maria in rank. In that case, they should be sitting on opposite sides of the table, separated by 1 seat. In other words, the world where Leon exists, it's impossible for Maria to be sitting next to Rosa. It was the same in Jessica's story. If you were added to the ranking system, then when looking down the table towards Kinzo's seat, you should be on the left side and Jessica should be on the right. If that comes George on the left side and Angie on the right, Jessica and Angie will be sitting next to each other whether you're there or not. However, which side of the table they're sitting on changes. In the world where Leon exists, Angie's seat is on Jessica's left. However, if Leon doesn't exist, Angie's seat is on Jessica's right. Yep, we caught on to this. Every time someone talked about the witch Beatrice of 1986, they were all talking about a world where you don't exist. And in your world, there are no ghost stories about a witch. To you, Beatrice is either Kinzo's mistress or his benefactor, not a wandering ghost. Which is also part of what we were like with Kinzo has Leon as the successor to like put all these weird feelings onto, like he never develops this strange obsession, right? And that checks out.
The head loved Beatrice deeply, did he not? I can't imagine why she would be made into a ghost story.
Exactly. If you exist, the witch Beatrice doesn't. Your existence kills Beatrice.
Are you saying I'm the culprit who killed Beatrice? That's just crazy. How can I be the culprit if I don't even understand her and have never met her?
Flip it around. If you don't exist, Beatrice will be born.
Flip it? Are you trying to say Beatrice and I are 2 sides of a coin?
That's a good way to put it, actually. That is it exactly. You're a coin and Beatrice is the other side.
I don't get it at all.
At first, I didn't get your existence either. But I formed a theory about you after hearing all this. The key is that you're 19 years old.
Sure is.
Yeah, it is.
I don't remember telling you my age, but you got it right. How?
Jessica said you were already the student council vice president when she joined your school, and that you became the president the next year. Means you're 1 year older than Jessica. I guess we could have worked it out that way. We just kind of hard read that age, but I guess there was like also confirmation there if you wanted to work it out like that. Jessica's 18, so Leon must be 19.
I see. And what sort of theory can you make now that you know I'm 19?
Theory I can make is that you aren't Ushiromiya Natsuhi's child.
How rude. I don't know what game you're playing, but I won't allow you to insult both me and my mother like that.
Why are you the successor instead of Kraus?
I will succeed the headship when I come of age. When I have a kid, I'll probably pass that title down to them when they come of age.
Then why didn't Kinzo give the headship to Krauster when he came of age, huh?
You heard what our head said. He was used by the cunning elders of the Ushiromiya family and suffered much. That's why he decided that only young people should inherit the headship from now.
In the world without you in it, there's no silver ring for the successor. That silver ring proves that Kinzo had a strong desire, which he didn't show in any other world, to see that you became the next head.
I can't deny that you may have a point there. The head always seemed to adore me particularly, and I was very young when he first promised to make me the head when I came of age. He was very strict when he told me to keep up in my studies in preparation for that day. But I don't think my father was any less talented. Wow, that was hard
buddy.
to say with a straight face.
Oh, buddy.
Why did grandfather skip over him and make me the successor?
Just be glad you don't live in the time of NFTs, my dude.
I've thought it strange from time to time, but since it's always been that way, I never said so aloud.
Do you know why Kinzo wanted you and not Kraus to become the next head?
How could I know? Are you trying to tell me to stop neglecting the heart again? Do you think you understand how the head's heart works?
It's because you're the child of Kinzo and Beatrice. We didn't title drop, but we're still doing the air horn. I mean, that's what we guessed. Well done. There was a crisp applause and mocking laugh. Oh, Bernie, what's up, bro? I'm not your bro. Do you call everyone bro?
Yeah. He does.
You got a problem with that, bro? Why are you here? You, the small cat person.
What?
Because your name's Leon. Listen, kid, if you're going to hang out with Will, you got to keep up. You can pick these up from context. That was faster than I expected. I thought you'd let me play a little bit longer. Berncastle appeared sitting on the altar, almost as though it had become her own personal chair. When did you realize that Leon shared Beatrice's blood? As soon as I realized Leon was 19, it was the same number as the baby for 19 years ago. The hint that appeared in the 5th game. Didn't that baby fall off a cliff? Leon is the baby who was accepted by Natsuhi and didn't fall off the cliff. In other words, if Natsuhi rejects the baby, Leon doesn't exist.
You're saying I'm not Mom's child? That's insane.
Yo, what up, nerd? You say that, but you don't look too sure. That's right. Ushiromiya Leon is not Natsuhi's child. This is the grown-up version of the baby Kinzo got from somewhere 19 years ago. Not somewhere. Leon clearly shares Beatrice's blood. Proof is the silver ring, which only ever given to Leon across all the many worlds.
Why does the ring prove that I share Beatrice's blood?
In all the many worlds, you are the only one who receives it. That means that in all worlds, you are the most important person to Kinzo, second only to Beatrice. And his love for you is clearly greater than it is for his son Kraus or his granddaughter Jessica. And you are 19 years old. In other words, if we look back to see what happened 19 years ago, it can lead to a certain theory.
19 years ago? What's supposed to have happened at the time I was born?
You heard it too, didn't you? You even heard it today. And Will was with you, right?
You don't mean Aunt Rosa's story?
Was it you that put together that those two were contemporaneous?
Yeah.
That's right. Rosa's story came out in the 3rd game, and when the age of the baby in the 5th game matched that date, a certain theory became possible.
Sure fucking did.
Yeah, it did. The fact that Kinzo brought a baby from somewhere and tried to add it to his family proved the baby was somehow important to him.
And I'm the child of the Kuadorian Beatrice.
Kuadorian Beatrice was the daughter of the Kuadorian Beatrice was the daughter of the Beatrice who arrived in that submarine. But Kinzo didn't think of her as a daughter. He believed she was the same person Beatrice reborn. When that reborn Beatrice reached the same age as the first Beatrice, it truly looked like Beatrice's double. Kinzo made a terrible mistake. It's always a terrible mistake with rich people, isn't it?
I don't want to hear it.
That's how it is. Kinzo got Beatrice pregnant with Beatrice. And then he got that Beatrice pregnant with you. So you're both Kinzo's child and Beatrice's grandchild. So I still feel like we got part of our, like, even though like the scope of it was like, and the way it ties into the particular orphanage didn't pan out.
Mhm.
Our original theory of where Kinzo was creating these children turned out to have an element of truth to it
Yep.
here.
Absolutely correct.
And even the most distressing part of it was probably the linchpin here.
The part that makes Kinzo Leon's granddad and dad and adoptive granddad simultaneously.
Yeah, which
That shit sucks.
You right, bro? Looks like you could use a Capri Sun or something.
What the fuck is a Capri Sun?
So what's gonna chill you out, bro?
You
Here.
keep saying these words. Stop that.
Once the wheel train gets started, it's not gonna stop. Pull it out of the station, dude. We consider Kinzo's heart. This is the inevitable theory which we reach for explaining why he treated you so specially. He regretted his mistakes so much he tried to make you his proper grandchild. I don't know if that's the reason we came to that conclusion. I assumed it would have been more like, oh, it's not out of regret, but more like this is the child closest to Beatrice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In almost all cases, Natsuhi's pride is brutally hurt, and she refuses to raise Leon. Because of that, you almost always fall from the cliff and disappear. Disappear, not die. Disappear, not die.
I heard that I was the child they were finally blessed with after so long, and that Jessica was born the next year.
If you really never suspected that Natsuhi wasn't your mother, then you should thank her in this world. The reason you never realized the truth is because she's shown as much affection to you as she did to Jessica. There's no need to thank her. After all, it took a dizzying span of time just to find a fragment with you in it. Mathematically speaking, there's actually a 2,578,916 chance out of 2,578,917 of her refusing to raise you. Should probably be thanking me for creating this miracle, not Natsuhi. Enough with your stupid probability games. Ow. Don't hit the witch. Yo, Leon, you want to hit the witch? You get like one good smack.
Kind of.
I didn't agree to. Fuck you. Fuck you both. Play my game. No matter whose blood you bear, that doesn't change the debt you owe to the family that raised you, right?
I realize that. Still, I would like some time to calm down and think things through. That is, if you'll refrain from ignoring my heart.
Sure. Leon took a deep breath and looked upwards. Anyone would be shocked to find that their parents weren't who they believed them to be. Still, Leon should be grateful. Grateful towards the family that raised a child who wanted for nothing. Yep. It's pretty interesting, right? Hard to believe that the Golden Witch Beatrice might have lived such an ordinary life, even at such absurdly low probabilities. Isn't it? I think moments like this are absolutely hilarious. Will had said it plainly. Ushiromiya Leon is how the Golden Witch Beatrice appears in a different world. The baby Natsuhi rejected 19 years previous. If she'd accepted that child, this is the future that would have occurred. However, if she doesn't accept that child, the witch will be born. Anyway, bro, you gotta put on the dress, all right?
Okay.
I know it's not important, but you gotta put on the dress, bro.
I'm actually fine with this.
Yeah, I figured. The baby whose birth was not celebrated becomes a witch. Leon is the dead cat. However, Leon's existence has nothing to do with what you're interested in, the Rokkenjima serial murders. In other words, Leon is the cat that disappears when you open the cat box. Exactly. Leon is just a disappearing cat after all. But this was pretty fun for a side trip, don't you think? You're the only one having fun, though. Actually, that's a lie. I do enjoy Leon. Can I take them? Can I take them with me? Can I have my they bro? Leon, do you want to be my they bro? They bro. If I wasn't trapped here, I wouldn't even worry about reasoning this out.
I think I know why I was chosen to be your partner in this strange detective game.
So we could use them as a barometer for when things happened in Leon's timeline versus not.
It seems this Burncastle witch enjoys toying with people's fates and sneering at them.
Well, that too.
Wow, incredible. It's rare for someone to understand me on the day we meet.
Apparently, I become something that gets called a witch in another world. And apparently, I'm the cause of some sort of crime? Is that my sin?
It's no sin of yours. You are you. How things would be if the coin were flipped the other way isn't your problem.
Thank you. Even so, I don't think anyone would be pleased to hear that they caused some sort of trouble in a world of a different fate. Please tell me, what do I do in that other world?
Burncastle?
Should we show the fragments to this kid?
I mean, you're asking me? I kind of figured you were going to do it just because you're a cruel son of a bitch.
Yeah, you're right. Get in here.
Will opened his hand and something that looked like a pale glue glowing shard of a crystal appeared there. It was a memory. No, a game record of all the games so far. Touch this. You'll be able to see your fate in other worlds. It's like the Matrix. You're going to get everything all at once, all right? It'll take a moment to sort out, but it'll be cool.
Your face is telling me that I'd be happier if I didn't touch it.
Oh, yeah. Of course you would be. You probably guessed, but the story here isn't a happy one.
Even so, even if it is another world, it's still about me.
You have both the right to know and the right not to know. If you can convince yourself that the one similar yet different from you is a separate person, then touch it.
Don't you want to know? Come on, you want to know, right? There's chips in the other ones. There's candy. There's a lot of candy on the table that one time. Come to think of it, that probably wasn't actually candy. That was probably just gore that Maria was seeing as candy. Wow. Did you really... Wait, did we... That probably never was actual Halloween candy, was it?
Maybe, I don't know.
Don't you want to know about the fate you might have reached? Come on. Come on, do it. Do that. Do it. Do it.
I ask this as your partner. Would you show that to me?
As your partner, I'd say, look. But as a friend, I'd say don't.
Unfortunately, I'm not your friend.
But you are my bro, right?
Yeah.
Bros forever? Yeah, I always wanted to say, bro. Then as a partner, I have one last question for you.
What?
Are you a boy or girl?
Well, that was abrupt.
I mean, it's cool to be neither. It's the 80s, right? So I could see you as a fairly slender boy, but then again, I could also see you as a no-nonsense sort of girl. Even Burncastle has been intentionally keeping it a secret. Jimmy and Jessica call you our successor Sama though all the time instead of Nissan or Nasan.
You are quick.
People often ask me about my gender, so I always give the same irritated response. Which do I look like to you?
Wow, Leon really said NB rights. The 5th game, you're supposed to be a boy. But in many other games, you're thought of as a girl. In the 6th game, when Ushiromi Battler was the master, 2 demons of different sexes appeared, but we didn't know which was which. In fact, strictly speaking, it started all the way back in the very first game. Your gender is one of the hidden mysteries that exists outside the games themselves.
Wow, I've never received a compliment so wonderful.
Best compliment. Your gender is a mystery that transcends timelines.
I'd hate to give you an answer so easily, so I won't. We're partners, right? Does it really matter if I'm not the gender you'd prefer?
You're right. We're working together on this. I don't care what your gender is.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, like, I know we're saying gender, but we're really talking about, like, I still need to know how to refer to you. Actually, no, I've got that down, don't I, bruh?
I've developed a bit of a complex about it, so I'm glad to hear you say that.
I'm all for gender equality. If someone's a waste of space, I'll smack them no matter who they are. Leon said trans rights. Not Leon, also Leon did, but Will does as well. Good job.
And of course, I'll pinch rude people no matter which gender they are.
Stop, don't, I know what you're doing. Stop it. Slowly, Leon reached out and touched the fragment. A moment later, Leon seemed to undergo a violent bout of dizziness and silently slumped over like a puppet with its strings cut. It was no surprise. When people who don't understand parallel universes have many different fates jammed into their heads, they tend to feel like their brains are swelling and their sense of self is melting away. Told you you'd be like the Matrix, bruh. Should have taken the warning. Leon seemed to have lost consciousness. So Leona had what it took to learn everything, right?
A perfect piece to be your partner. Wouldn't you say?
I'll continue my reasoning. Talked about the dead cat.
Very true. Next up is the living cat.
The only one who could kill the Beatrice of 1986 is the one who created her.
There are tons of hints. If you think about it, they've been coming since back when Beatrice was running in the games.
So I guess the person who created it had to be Kumasawa then?
I retract my theory then, if that's the case, that she had anything to do with it.
I don't think she had anything to do with the murders, but I think Kumasawa was the one that originally started this, and then that got probably picked up and ran with by Shannon, Sayo, Ken, and whoever we're calling them. That's true. In the fourth game between Beatrice and Battler, Beatrice's origin became clear. At that point, I learned who Beatrice was and about that person's heart.
Yeah, so this is Shannon Cannon.
What do you mean by heart?
The motive. Reason why Beatrice had to commit a game-like crime on October 5th, 1986, putting even her own fate on the line. We never figured that out. I don't think we ever got to what the sin was and why they felt like they had to do this.
I think we got to what the sin was. Battler didn't come back.
Oh, right. I mean,
that's my theory, at least.
Well, yeah, but we don't know, that's not really just satisfying to say on its own. What was it that went on between them that caused them to feel this violently about it? You know, what was it that Battler said or did that left such an impression that leaving for 6 years caused them to stew like this?
They chatted, had a normal conversation that we witnessed, kind of, from George's perspective. And Battler said he'd be back, and he
then
didn't.
He wasn't.
And
because
Shannon Cannon falls in love, and then is intensely bitter that person never came back to rescue her.
Fair enough.
That's my theory. I think it's a good enough.
I mean,
theory.
yeah, that's about what we had gotten to. Yeah.
So you figured out the who done it and the why done it as early as the fourth game. And what about the how done it?
Once you know who the culprit is, theorizing about the how done it isn't impossible. Those linked closed rooms of the third game were a pretty nice job, though. Almost made me feel like applauding.
And the who am I from the end of the fourth game?
The culprit can kill anyone at 2400 on October 5th, no matter where they are. By that moment, it's possible to form a certain hypothesis. I call that the other treasure of the Golden Land.
Oh. So you say you can reach all the answers by the end of the fourth game? In other words, with just Beatrice's games?
It's possible. After that Lambda Delta's game and Battler's game were filled with even more hints. As is this game of yours.
Well, now why don't you stop stalling for time and just tell me, who is the culprit?
At that moment, though there hadn't been anyone but them in the chapel, small footsteps rang out. That silhouette slowly walked up to Willenburn Castle and gave a small bow. So you come?
Did you call this person here?
Yeah. Who done it? How done it? And why done it? I've understood this person's motive.
And are you gonna give up just because he's found out your motive? There's no concrete evidence, right? You can make a flashy fight of it with red and blue.
That's not what this person wants anymore.
They nodded slightly.
Their wish was to be noticed. Once that happened, they had no need for trivial excuses or pointless word games. I believe I understand your motive. Your heart. I'm going to describe it now. I called you here to listen. And correct me in your own words if I've gotten anything wrong, alright? The two of them nodded to each other once more. In your 4 games, I found your message. We didn't find that message, whatever he's referring to here. And in 3 games with different masters, I was able to picture a strange sort of fate that must have toyed with your life. It left me speechless. In every game, you die without revealing that truth to anyone. Having this person confess in this empty chapel might be pointless. However, even so, I believe it will give her some sort of salvation. Okay, her. People are only saved when someone understands them. No one understood this pitiful witch even after her death, even years later, and including the man she wanted to understand her most. It's about time someone forgave her. At the end of the 5th game, Battler finally understood. However, it took him so long and he didn't make it in time. So even though she's alive here and now, Battler cannot save her. So Battler isn't here at Beatrice's funeral. He won't come. He won't make it in time. This is Beatrice's funeral. You'll confess the Divine Master will hear, and I will forgive you. It's supposed to be Battler's job, but he didn't make it in time. So you have to settle for me, the cooler battler.
And Beato gave Battler so many hints, too. And also gave that idiot a ton of hints. Even got a good laugh at Battler's game of repentance for missing so much. But I won't make anyone laugh. I'll just dispassionately carry out your funeral.
No more talking from you. No more talking from you over there.
I want to mock him. Stop it. Stop, Will. Stop it.
That's my job. If you're ready, let's begin. No one will rush you. Burncastle is closed off time for eternity until your funeral ends. As much time as you need to prepare yourself emotionally.
The silhouette slowly shook its head. It had come here because it was already prepared. Will nodded to show that he understood. Then the two looked into Burncastle's eyes, and Will spoke out clearly.
This is the culprit.
And we're finally going to see who the culprit is on Friday's episode.
Yeah.
We've already locked
Hell
in
yeah.
our guess.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah. Yep.
And I feel like we've done a good job explaining how we got to that point. But put in your guesses in the comments below if you aren't us. And you don't know.
Or if you do but want to lodge a guess anyway.
Right?
That's fine too.
It's perfectly acceptable. Also, this is so bizarre. I wish it didn't autoplay at this point, but who the fuck are you?
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.